Hi, Red Class. It's Mr. Maloney here. Some good news, I hope. I was able to go into school on Friday and meet the Blue Day kids. Think about that. They had not met me yet. Crazy. And then Wednesday of this week, on Veterans Day, when you guys are sitting at home, I'm going to be getting hopefully my last round of tests. If those tests come back as expected to be pretty good, I will be in school on Friday for the rest of the year. All right. So you hear that? Hopefully, I am back on Friday. All signs are looking towards that, and that's what I'm hoping. This week, I'm going to be way more responsive with emails. So if you need anything, reach out. Like I'm on. You know, I am taking sick days, but I'm going to be around my house more than I was. I'm not resting as much, so I can hopefully help you out with that. All right, let's do this. New unit, guys. If you didn't finish the Unit 2 Industrial Revolution quiz, honestly, why don't you wait until I come back on Friday and we can talk? All right, if you're having trouble with it. If it's not like a having trouble thing, then please finish it up. But if you're having any trouble with any of this stuff, frankly, on Friday we're going to chat. Here's your notes for this unit posted here. They're a little longer. Here's our agenda. Here are the introductory questions you're going to do in just a moment. And then here's your assignment that you'll have for class. Some class time today, but it is probably homework. It goes a little bit beyond our time frame. A little bit more than an hour I need out of you today. So whether you're in school or then you have to do it at home. All right, but here we go. Let's do our agenda. What are we going to be learning today? We're starting a new unit. So we're going to, in every single unit, guys, the first notes are like the causes or the reasons why. Okay, so get used to it. So that's what we're doing today. We're doing the reasons why imperialism starts when it starts. Okay. What does your homework do next class? I'll do a separate explainer video for that. That's right here, some map work. All right, let's get going. What I need you to do is I posted it here. All right, but you can also access it through the hyperlink here. All right. I want you to answer some introductory questions. Again, we do this with every unit. Some things to get your brain unit. Let's look at this. Guys, so in the 1800s, we've moved forward we went through about 100 years last year, in case you're wondering. The Industrial Revolution gets going in Britain in the mid-1700s. We're now mid-1800s. This is the time like the Civil War is starting in America, if you want some context. All right, so mid-1800s, the Industrial Revolutions in Europe are starting to slow down, and businesses are beginning to lose trade and money. Also, many workers' rights have begun. I'm going to bullet these because they'll be a little easier for you guys to take in the separate facts. Many workers begin gaining rights and working conditions improve because what happens is workers went on strike and the business owners had no choice but to pay them. All right. Bottom line, owning and operating a business in Europe was becoming expensive and taking away from the profits. So they want to get profitable. What are they going to do? Question number one. Why do you think these economies began to slow down? Okay. You're in our society where our economy is slowing down. The answer for number one is not a pandemic. All right, but what are some of the other reasons why an economy slows down? If you're having trouble just like straight with it, thinking it that way, this might be a good way to get going. We did this last unit a little bit. Think about what do businesses need? I'm willing to bet if they're suffering, they might not be getting all that they need, right, guys? And then number two, what do you think the world is going to offer Europe to help this industrial revolution? All right, and it'll tie directly into one. So why don't you pause this video, go check out those questions, please answer them, and then come right back. Okay, here we go. You took a look at those introductory questions, all right? We're going to tackle these when I come in on Friday, like I'm going to talk about them, and we're going to get into some of it here as well with notes. All right, you guys ready for notes? Here we go. A lot of bullets here. I get this. A lot of bold here. Let me do this so I know you're listening. This is like my screen for me to get started. Guys, what do you see in imperialism? First of all, you see another ism. I told you last unit, you're going to have tons of isms this year. Imperial. Think, a lot of kids over the years thought Star Wars, all right, the Imperial forces. There's some bad guy tone to this. Imperialism, you can think of empire with an E, also when you hear imperialism. The bottom line, guys, imperialism as an ism is a period in history when countries in Europe and also us, the United States, were taking over areas, regions. Not all these places were like official countries. A lot of them were groups of people, tribes, you may even think. in not only Africa, but Asia and Latin America. What we're going to do, guys, is we're going to look at Africa first. Then we'll look at it as a whole continent. And then we're going to go to Asia and look at two countries in particular, China and Japan. And then Latin America, we're going to do as a whole region as well. Okay? And then we're actually, at the end of the year, we come back to all three of these regions and we look at sort of the long-lasting effects of this. All right? So that's imperialism. That's a long one. If you got to pause me to write it down, pause to write it down. Next ism is, I hope not new to you, nationalism. What word do you see there, class? Nation. Nationalism, there's all kinds of definitions, but they all sound about like this. Having pride in your country. You want it to be number one. You don't. Now, here's where I'm going to give you a big point. In my world, in my opinion, there are two kinds of nationalism. All right? Think of it like a sporting event. There's good nationalism. Yay, Natick High. But then there's bad nationalism. Bad nationalism, guys, if you're curious, is boo Framingham High. Do you get the difference there? It's kind of subtle. But nationalism can be good and bad. The good form of nationalism is you're all about yourself. The bad part of nationalism, it's kind of like being a bully, where you need to tear down others to make you feel better about your country. Okay? So that's nationalism. Next one, another long one. You might need to pause to write it down. Social Darwinism. A lot of you guys maybe have studied Charles Darwin in science classes. Charles Darwin is the guy who went to the Galapagos Islands, and he noticed turtle shells, right? And he noticed that their necks were getting longer. And what Darwin hypothesized is that these turtles had evolved over time. So Darwin then took it to humans, and he talked about how humans have evolved over time. How we came. Now, again, I hope this is not meant to offend anyone's religious beliefs, but this is just going through some science here. But as humans, right, as we the caveman and woman separated into the modern Homo sapien, we evolved. We stopped being people who we stood up over the grasslands of Africa to look out into the horizons. We developed our thumbs. We made tools, right? So Darwinism is the belief in evolution. Now, here we go. Social Darwinism is very mean. What it is, it's the belief that since everything was going so well for the West, you see this here, the West, guys? This is a term I hope you're familiar with. If not, here it is. The West, guys, refers to Europe and America, okay? So that since the West were kicking butt in the 1800s, right? They had the best technology. They had strong governments. They had these huge armies. They were making money, right? All these things we use to sort of, whether they're fair or not, to qualify societies. They were doing really well with it. So what the idea of social Darwinism is that they're able to take over all of these places that we're going to see in the next week, 2 weeks. And it must mean that the only reason why they're taking them over is not because they have the biggest guns. It's because they are better socially, economically, morally, and ever, etc. Here's why this is offensive. It's implying that you're better than someone. And then there's the other kick to this social Darwinism piece, where it's your duty. And we're going to get into this more when I come back in person, face to face. It's a little easier for me to teach you and you to understand. So we're going to really tackle on Friday. But this piece that you owe it to these poor people. All right? Within Asia, Africa, and Latin America, Europeans and Americans are going to see, oh man, they don't have the steam engine. They don't have trains. We owe it to them to give them trains. Oh, they don't necessarily have Christianity. We owe it to give them Christianity. Oh, they don't speak French. We owe it to them to teach them the French language. So all of the characteristics of our world, right? All the things that make up our culture, the West, that's why we started our year with culture. That stuff, the idea is we need to go invade these places and make them like us. The last ism is racism. Sadly, one that you're all familiar with. Sadly, one that's probably been around as long as human beings have noticed that there's differences between each other. And that is the belief that you are better than someone else because of your race. Social Darwinism is racist. It is the belief that you are better than someone because you listen to Taylor Swift and they don't. Okay? All right? So those are some important isms. When we have a quiz in this unit, they're going to be multiple choice, but you're going to have to be able to identify them. Nationalism is a big one we're going to look at all year, so please keep that in your brain. I'll admit social Darwinism goes away. Sadly, racism never goes away, and imperialism isn't really going away either. But nationalism's a big one. All right, so ready? Why did imperialism, which some people also call colonialism, right? That's a term I think you're familiar with, colony, right? Our country was a colony at one point. Why did it start and where did it start? We have two waves. So two eras, ERA, two eras, two periods of history. The first one is the one I think you are most familiar with. I really hope so. And that is the Americas, North and South America. And that was from the 1492. Columbus sailed the ocean blue. All right, so this starts in the 1400s and it goes through the 1700s. You can think of Christopher Columbus, Europe. You can think of 13 American colonies. Okay? That's the first wave. That first wave really does kind of end with the American Revolution and then also revolutions throughout South America and Latin America, all right? Namely the Haitian Revolution. All right, so basically what happens in the 1700s is America starts to be a big pain in the butt to Europe, so America kind of leaves, so Europe kind of leaves. What were Europeans looking for when they quote unquote discovered the Americas? Well, they were looking for precious metals, gold, silver, tin, bronze, copper, and also that trade route to Asia, right? Okay? That's the one you're familiar with. Second wave. The second wave is going to go to Africa and Asia mostly. We are going to talk about Latin America, like I said. I'm scrolling for some reason. I think I had it written somewhere, but I guess not. We are going to look at Latin America as well, but it's more their independence from this first wave, okay? But the second wave mostly occurs in Africa and Asia, and that is from the 1800s until really after World War II, the 1950s, so post-World War II, and this involves Europe and America. So why does it start? Well, guys, it all starts because of the Industrial Revolution. Right? The desire for, I hope you can get these, natural resources. And then workers, right? And then the final one, consumers would be the word, but we're going to say markets, all right? Markets, places to sell their goods. Because I don't know if you got to this in the introductory questions here, right? Why did they begin to suffer, guys? Because workers became too expensive. Europeans and Americans wanted to be paid more. Why? Well, because they started running out of natural resources. They were using them all. And then finally, frankly, everyone in America already had stuff. The vacuum cleaner wasn't invented, but it's just the example that comes into my brain. It's like as if everyone had a vacuum cleaner. You have to now go find people who need a vacuum cleaner. Who needs a vacuum cleaner, according to Europe? Africa, Asia, okay? So that's the first. This is the biggest motivation, is the industrial revolution, okay? And again, these three things, that's the answer to question one up here, okay? Number two, nationalism. Now, here's the deal with nationalism, with imperialism. It was to prevent, not only to do well for yourself, but also to stick it to someone else. So, like, France and England were mortal enemies during this period of time, guys. So, England, yeah, they wanted to get colonies for themselves, but it was also petty. They also wanted just to prevent France from getting them, okay? Colonies became status symbols for imperial powers, guys. Think in the houses or cars. So think of a neighborhood you live in. Your neighbor gets a brand new car. Whether you know it or not, your parents are kind of a little tinge of jealousy. Like, geez, I wish we had a new car. That's what imperialism was about. That was the motivation for imperialism. Germany wasn't a country yet. Sorry, bad example. Again, England would look over at France, or Belgium, actually. Belgium was kicking butt during this. Belgium was gobbling up land, and England and Britain are like, well, we want land. And England and France are like, we want that stuff. We want land. So nationalism is the second one. The third one is an ism, and it's called militarism. All right, this one's a little weird. What you need to know is this part. As people are traveling all over the world in the 1800s, guys, it's still by ship. I mean, even today, most material travels by ship. So there's not airplanes. So what it is you're traveling from Europe to Asia. You need rest stops. You need bases for your armies and navies, places for you to trade, and to stop and resupply. When you do this map assignment, keep that in mind. It's going to help you with some of the questions in the map of Africa. All right, when you think of the size of Africa, guys, and Europeans need to go all the way around this place, they're definitely going to want quote unquote rest stops along the way. They're going to need places to resupply. We're going to get to that in a little bit. And then the last one, number 4, just straight up racism, guys. Not sugarcoating it at all. The idea that the Europeans had to quote unquote save the savages, that's the term they used. Europeans wanted to bring these places not only Christianity, but also the European way of doing things. All right, food, music, dress, language, technology. I'm not going to pull up the Unit 1 notes, but remember all those things that make a society and make a culture a culture. We're going to hold it there, guys. So this is definitely going to be a question on your quiz. What were the motivations for the second wave of imperialism? The one that we're studying here, not the Christopher Columbus one. All right, and then these are just going to be a lot of definitions of words that I hope you're going to be familiar with because they're going to come up throughout the year. All right, I'm now going to do a separate explainer video for the homework assignment, but that's it for this. All right, guys.